Hi, welcome. I'm Mary and I hook books. I crochet things inspired by books, and I have read 100 books so far this year. So I figured this was a good kind of mid-year check-in time. Today I would like to tell you about some of the favorite things I've crocheted recently, my favorite fiction and non-fiction books, and Munster would like to tell you about the fly that I let in when I went to feed the stray cat that lives on my porch. Chaos may ensue because I have two kitties chasing one fly around my apartment, but we shall press on. My 100th book this year was Fuzzy Nation by John Scalzi, and I love John Scalzi. This was not my absolute favorite, but I did really enjoy it. It is based on an older novel that is a little bit dated. I believe that's called Little Fuzzy, and it is a little bit more updated. It deals with a lot of the same stuff. It is an alien first contact. I think that's not really a spoiler. And they don't know if these aliens are sentient or not. And it's a little bit of like corporate espionage, a little bit of a courtroom drama. I really did like the characters. A lot of the time, John Scalzi does kind of just write the same character over and over, but I like that character. This was a little bit different, so that was kind of refreshing for a John Scalzi novel. And in the novel, what they call the fuzzies are kind of like monkey cat aliens. So that is what I made, a monkey cat alien. As I previously mentioned, I did my little crochet marathon. I made a bunch of cute little things for my colleagues' class for prizes. Some of my favorite things that are pretty quick to make. I have this beautiful rose pattern. This guy works up in about 15-20 minutes depending on sewing, and I absolutely love making these in a whole rainbow of colors. I also found this really great butterfly pattern, and I take yarn to the doctor's office or anywhere that I need to wait, and I was seeing a dermatologist, and I would just make these in the waiting room, and as I finished them, I would just give them to the nurses and to the front desk staff and to the doctor. And amazingly, it was actually my doctor's birthday, so she gave me a big ol' hug and she said, "You are just such a joy bringer." And that, like, I feel seen. That is what I want to do in life. I just want to bring as much joy as I possibly can to as many people as I can. So you can find these patterns in the description box. These work up super fast. I use this self-striping yarn, so each one comes out a little bit different and really pretty. Speaking of the self-striping yarn, oh, the Hue-Manitee. A couple things that work up faster than some of the other big prizes I make are these animal hats. They are always a really big hit. They work up in usually about 2.5 hours. This one has a little bit more detail, so it took a little bit longer, but not too much, and it's just so adorable, isn't it? And as a Hoovian, Adipose! My fat won't literally get up and walk away, but yeah, a girl can dream and make friends with her adipose. And I the Deterrent series about superheroes. So this is my little girl superhero. I think she kind of reminds me of Starlight from The Boys, but I love the variegated yarn for her hair. And yeah, superheroes just make me happy. I had to stop watching The Boys because it got too real, but yay, cute little superhero. And we do not support TERFs around here. Transphobia is not okay. But we also do have to just acknowledge the fact that the wizarding world was a large part of a lot of our childhoods. So this class, the day that I substituted for them, they all talked about like what house they were and, you know, Hufflepuff forever. And so I really like this kitty with the Gryffindor scarf. So not licensed, so don't get me in trouble or anything. But I just thought he turned out so cute. All right, my top 5 favorite nonfiction. First, I have to have an honorable mention, and that is How to Win Friends and Influence People. This has been an incredibly influential book for a century, just about. So I was like, well, what's all the fuss about? And I picked it up and learned absolutely nothing new. But I did realize a lot of these skills were given to me when I was younger, and a lot of the values were just drilled into me. Like, it is really important to make people feel important and seen. And I didn't realize people needed a self-help book to realize that. Or to realize, you know, if you substitute but with and, you still portray the same information, but the person feels better about it, you know? So instead of saying, your painting is really great, but the background is messy, say, this painting is really great, and when you finish the background, it's gonna look awesome. So I did not realize that people didn't know these things because I was taught them from a very young age. But it does give me a little bit more empathy for people that don't do these things, because I realized I had to be taught these things, that I learned them so young. I thought everyone did them, but apparently not. So make people feel important, be grateful, catch more flies with a dead body than vinegar. And now the official non-fiction best of the year so far, number 5, Dinner for Vampires. A coworker of mine told me about this, and I'd never watched One Tree Hill, so I didn't know these characters, but reading it was the best horror suspense that I have read, I think, this year. And it's a nonfiction memoir. I just saw it coming. This woman is an actress who is very bad at accounting, and that's a large part of her problem. And she's making a lot of money, and she's also falling into a cult. And I, just being me and having my experiences and my interests, I was just like, oh no, honey, no, don't do it. Don't go in the basement. The whole time. So, an amazing horror suspense / nonfiction memoir. Number 4 is another true crime adjacent memoir, The House of My Mother by Ruby Franke. I have been following this case, not from the beginning, but it is just so fascinating, and I am constantly just baffled by the things people can do to their own children. And if you don't know, Ruby Franke and Jodi Hildebrandt I mean, Jody started a cult. Like, there's not much more to it. Like, Jody started a cult. And she tore apart families. And one of the families that she tore apart was Ruby Frankie's. And Ruby was bad before she met Jody. She was not a good parent. She was a momfluencer. It was not a good situation. And we get to hear from Sherry, her daughter. And I really appreciated hearing her growth, her healing process, and some of the details. Like, I knew it when she was talking about how life with Jody was. And like, as someone, I teach a professional ethics class, so the things Jody Hildebrand did just utterly appall me on so many levels. And it was interesting and horrifying to hear how she did conduct a session with a young girl, a young, vulnerable, influential girl. Number 3, Get Well Soon. And I actually bought a paper copy of this because I liked it so much and I wanted to reference it, but I lent it to my colleague, so maybe I'll get that back, maybe I won't, but I did just love this. It's about plagues, how we fight them, how they affect society, how sometimes we leave children starving and begging in the streets because we can't be bothered, and other times entire nations come together to support people. So this was really interesting, really well researched, and I mean, as much as you can enjoy something about deadly diseases, I really did enjoy this. The writing was really fun. Then number 2, Don't Trust Your Gut. And in, again, my professional ethics class, I say, trust your gut, unless your gut's being racist, or transphobic, or homophobic, or otherwise biased in a negative way. And that's because I've done a lot of bias training, so it's easier for me to step back and look at that, but other people, not so much. And our guts can really lead us astray. So I really liked so much research and so many facts that kind of support some of the ideas that I've read in other books, that some things really are very important in our lives and others really aren't. And we do place more emphasis on things that are big and scary. Everyone's afraid of a plane crash. And okay, recent events aside, we do not talk about the gutting of the FAA. But plane crashes are so rare, but people aren't really afraid to drive, even though, like, every day, I don't have a long commute, but I feel like there's a very harmful, if not deadly, accident on the highway almost every time I go to work. So data shows cars are way more dangerous, but people are much more frightened of airplanes because they're different. So I loved how well researched this was. I have another book by him that I'll probably pick up in the near future. And my number 1 favorite nonfiction that I have read this year, How to Keep House While Drowning. This is such a short book, but it's such a powerful book. It has a lot of very concrete ideas for what you can do, and I have implemented some of them into my life, but it also taught me, like, oh, I would see something and be like, why are you doing that? That's really dumb. Why are you doing it that way? But now I realize I do some things that it's not gonna get done the right way, but if it's not gonna get done this way, it's not gonna get done at all. And done is better than not. What is it? Perfection is the enemy of good, or something like that. So this, it made me feel seen with some of my struggles and helped me see some people in my life who I'm like, oh, that might be what they're going through, and I should probably have a little bit more understanding for them. So, and it also let me give some helpful suggestions to people in my life that I got from this book that they really enjoyed. So this is very neurodivergent friendly, which I like. She has a lot of allegories and metaphors, which I personally like. And then she breaks it down to its most literal sense, which is a little bit more ADHD friendly. So I appreciated that so much. And it's okay to feel like you're drowning. And it's okay to say, you know what, I cannot do that. I'm going to drop the plastic balls. If you're juggling all these balls, decide which ones are glass and which ones are plastic, and drop the plastic balls so that you can keep the glass ones in the air. Love this so much. And now, my top 10 favorite fiction reads of the year so far. I really enjoy C.J. Tudor. I read The Hiding Place. This is a horror mystery thriller about a disgraced teacher who goes back to his hometown, and there are some supernatural and some just horrific things that have happened in this town that all get kind of revealed. And then number 9 is Dogs of War. Adrian Tchaikovsky is hit or miss with me. I either love his work or I DNF it. I loved this one. Military sci-fi is not normally my thing, but it's an anthropomorphized doggy. And it is such a great allegory for how we treat veterans, how corporations and governments use people and resources and don't really care what happens to them. But I also just fell in love with this dog, and how dare you make him not a good boy? He is such a good boy. So I loved this. I've read the second book. The third book just came out. I hope it's a trilogy because I hate waiting for another book to come out. But I did really like this one. And number 8, Harriet Tubman live in concert. And I love Bob the Drag Queen. Like, all the drag queens are kind of a mess, and I love it so much. But in this world, historical people have come back to life, and Harriet Tubman becomes a rock star, and Bob is producing her album. And we have a little bit of education, a little bit of just speculative fantasy. What if? What would she say? What would the people around her say if they were in modern America today? So good. And if you get the audiobook, there's 2 original songs at the end that are just amazing. And number 7, The Resistors. I loved this. This is the kind of resistance that I need, that I think we need. Resistance isn't necessarily violence. Resistance can also be joy and community and sometimes baseball. And number 6, Sunrise on the Reaping. I loved the original Hunger Games trilogy. I remember finishing the second book on the plane and going to all the bookshops in the airport on my layover to find the third book. So I have enjoyed all of them. I really think this might be the best. I mean, I haven't read the original trilogy in years, but I enjoyed the character work in this so much. I love a prequel, so you know what's happening, and it adds that sense of dread. You're just like, I know this is gonna go wrong and everyone's gonna die, but how do we get there? So, loved following Haymitch's journey during the 50th Hunger Games. And number 5, Clown in a Cornfield, Friendo Lives. This is a fun B movie. It does also have things to say about, gun violence in our world and, corporate greed, stuff like that. But it's also just a fun killer clown. Like, it's suspenseful, little bit campy, great characters, just so much fun. And number 4 is A Scammer Darkly, and the Rex Nihilo books they're wacky space romps, and I love them. This one is a parody of pretty much every Philip K. Dick. So just thrown into a big stew or a big blender and put in space with a space con man and a robot incapable of having original thoughts but somehow ends up saving the day every time. So, loved that. If you like Philip K. Dick, this is a really great little Easter egg hunt. Number 2, Set My Heart to 5. I loved this character so much. A robot tries to learn how to be a human through movies, and then he takes a class to learn how to write a movie so that he can share his experience with other people. But he's not allowed to do that because he's a robot, so he has to keep it on the down low. So I loved this. It just brought me so much joy. And number 1, I feel like on a different day I might order these a little bit different, but right now my favorite read so far this year is Cackle by Rachel Harrison. I have loved pretty much all of her books, and this is not a witchy book. I mean, it is. There's witchcraft, but the big theme is female friendship, and I like the horror or the camp elements of all of her books, but what she's really, really good at is writing female friendship and female empowerment, and I loved that. Their friendship, friendship goals, for sure. I mean, I may or may not ever actually get magical powers, but I could have those friendships. Maybe, hopefully, one day. Friendship goals. So, those are the best reads that I have had so far in 2025, and some of my favorite things that I've crocheted lately. Oh, kitty cameo! Hi, Fry! So, let me know, what are you making? I will have all the patterns for these in the description box, along with the Buy Me a Coffee link if you'd like to financially support the crochet cause. And it would mean a lot if you would like, subscribe, comment, share, maybe put an emoji. Let me know if you're here for the yarn, the books, let me know if you're gonna pick up anything I suggested, if you have any recommendations, and I am taking care of myself the best I can. I want you to take care of yourself as best as you can, and maybe pick up How to Keep House While Drowning if you do need a little bit of help. And as always, keep your shoulders back, your head up, and breathe.